Please welcome Varun Joshi, Huijian Wu, and Errol Oschelik.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. And it's with great enthusiasm that I would like to welcome you all to our session on translating seller voices into product experiences. We want to take you on a journey of how Amazon designs product experiences for you. We want to unravel how your voices, your pain points, your compliments, your complaints, and everything in between drive changes to the products that you work with day on day. We want to help you understand how we learn from your feedback, understand your challenges and aspirations, and convert those into products that work for you. Before we jump into the session, let me do a quick introduction of the team that is here with me today. We're joined by experts from the Seller Central homepage team, on which you might have seen a lot of changes this year. I am Varun Joshi. I am the product manager for Seller Central homepage. I craft the product strategy. I listen to you, prioritize things on my roadmap, changes on my roadmap, and make them happen, launch them throughout the year. And I'm joined with...
Hi, my name is Huijian. I'm senior UX researcher here at Amazon. I conduct research to understand how people think, what people need, and how they use technologies. And I also work with my fantastic team to identify opportunities to improve sellers' experience.
And I'm Errol. I'm a senior user experience designer. I help create seamless experiences for all of you and try to simplify Seller Central as well.
Together, we're part of the core selling partner experiences team, which is a group of individuals working on a variety of experiences on Seller Central, listening to your feedback and improving them day on day. We're also joined here today with James Casaza. He's in the back. He's going to be moderating our Q&A session today. So that's a good segue to take your phones out and scan this QR code with your in-app QR code scanner. I think there's a leaderboard attached to it as well, so I think there are prizes. So good time to just scan this QR code using the QR code scanner in your Amazon Accelerate app, and that will let you join the Q&A that James Casaza, our moderator, will be moderating in the back. We'll be doing questions for 15 minutes at the end, so happy to take those questions then. Awesome. So let's jump right into the session. We wanted to start this session by talking about why listening to you is so important for us here at Amazon, why it is at the core of our journey, how we use that to build new experiences. And we don't just want it to be our voices that tell you that. There's a whole team behind this, and they've prepared this video to talk to you about us as well. So let's take a moment to listen to them.
Sellers, for our teams, are our customers. And so in order to build things that serve them well, we need to go talk to them and get that feedback and understand what they need.
We get over 10,000 direct feedback submissions, ratings, and thousands of comments that we review on a weekly basis.
It's very important to have both the what, which is usually the implicit data that are behavioral metrics, like X number of people are doing this, and the why, which is through qualitative research.
Our entire design process is customer backwards, which means that any concepts which we create, we always test them with selling partners.
The consistent driving force behind our success has been the working backwards process.
I collect feedback from the global send feedback form at the bottom of every page of Seller Central, through seller forums where sellers converse and discuss high-level topics, and customer support cases where sellers might be experiencing issues, and we get some really rich feedback from discussions there.
Conversations with our selling partners are at the heart of everything that we do.
You really need to understand, again, the rationale behind why sellers or customers are behaving the way they are in order to be able to decide on the best course of action. I want to thank sellers for being at Amazon and some of you being a part of our research. It's super important to hear your voice and know your ideas and your point of view.
You know, something I'd really like selling partners to know that we do for them is that we're constantly listening to them. We sit there, we obsess over what they're doing, what they're having to accomplish within their business, how they're using our tools, and looking for new opportunities to invent and simplify on their behalf.
Being able to contribute to people's dreams and creating long-term value for them is what inspires me at my job as a UX designer at Amazon.
Knowing that we're delivering tools that help others around the world do that is really exciting to me, and it's a huge part of the reason why I'm excited to show up every day.
I'm talking to a room full of sellers here, so I don't need to explain how important it is to listen to customers. And the Amazon way of doing this is the working backwards process. It's a tried and true method that helps us listen to you and convert those voices into products that work for you. So let's go through this process together. And the way we want to describe this process is through the Seller Central homepage and the changes that we have done on the page throughout the year. But why homepage? Why start from here? Very simply, this is where you start from as a new seller and every day as you try to identify the best actions to take to improve your business. You want the homepage to be a command center for your business. You want it to show the most important actions, maintaining account health, responding to buyer messages, shipping unshipped order right at the top. And you want to measure business performance metrics so you can use those to further improve the growth of your business and identify programs and activities that work towards that growth. So we want to walk you through this journey of how we design experiences and changes in these products based on what we hear from you.
All right, so we're talking about working backwards. How does this journey start? It actually starts from listening to you, our Amazon sellers. As a researcher, my job is to hear your voice, learn about your perspectives, understand your need and your daily challenges and experience as an Amazon seller. And I work with my team, designers Errol, product managers Varun, and other engineers. We translate our learning into insights and then to solutions. But it all starts from listening to you. Now let's hear some of your voice.
The Seller Central, it's really confusing. Why can't we just decide what information that we want on this? For example, this is totally useless to us because, at our scale, none of us is going to spend the time to look at this, right? So we have a software that does the repricing. Even Amazon offer one. So this is totally useless to us. Low inventory and out of stock. Amazon doesn't think that as a merchant, as a seller, that we would know this. And look at it. Why does one item at a time is not going to help us, right? Doesn't really help with our decision process. Well, because we don't send one item to Amazon at a time, right? So they need to have a much better process to be able for us to go through all our inventory and to see what's low inventory. See, like listing globally, obviously we can do that. Why does it need to be fill my page with information we don't need? And also add more to FBA. Well, there's so many different factors, right? Like storage limit, so many different factors. So really a lot of information is irrelevant. So you can see we constantly have to scroll down the page to find the stuff we need.
We'll look at this a little bit. It says improve images. This is a little less relevant for me because, I don't know, because there's somebody like, it'll pull up items that are not even a big part of the business. I don't know how, that's, what kind of metrics they use to kind of pull this up.
Okay.
I look at the full picture. I look at every item, but over here, they kind of look at, I don't know, I pulled one item up and they're like, well, we'll improve the images. Well, I could improve images on many more items than just this one item, if you know what I mean. So, a little less relevant for me, this one.
It would be really cool if a couple of the developers had to run a store for a month or two. So, because I can see, like, especially, like, if we go into, the business reports area. I mean, oops, sorry, that's not where I wanted to go. Here, this area, we have everything here. There's a metric crap ton of data there. I mean, Amazon is providing data like crazy. The problem is that nobody is summarizing it into useful and actionable pieces. I spend a lot of time taking the reports on this page, putting them into Excel, rearranging them, massaging them, and turning them into bits that I can actually do something with. So, I mean, some days it does feel a little bit like you're drowning of thirst, and yet you're standing in front of a fire hydrant.
That's a great analogy.
A crap ton of data being just blown at you, but it's really hard to put it together in a way that would actually give you oh crap, okay, this is what I need to do next to fix things for my business. And that's what I would like to see more of.
Does that sound familiar to you? Yes, we know what you're unsatisfied about. So you may be thinking, that's just an example of how you listen to me, but how can you make sure you're actually listening to the voice from millions of sellers? So in our process, we have two feedback channels. One is explicit and the other one is implicit. In the explicit feedback channel, things will be like you could join a user interviews and talking to a researcher like me. And you may also remember there is a turquoise button on the homepage located on the lower left bottom, and that says feedback. Once you click on that, you can submit your satisfaction ratings and put in your comments and send it back to us. You may also post your comments on seller forums. Also, you may join some of the studies to test out some of the future or current features or tools. These are the feedbacks we collected explicit from you. On the other hand, we also have implicit channel. And we do this by observing your activities when you are using Amazon Seller Central. For example, items you clicked on, pages you visited, and how much time you spend on a page or complete a task, or settings that you have changed. We analyze all these metrics and insights. That helps us to understand how sellers are using the tools and features and where they stuck. So taking the homepage as an example, we were trying to improve from previous version, and we interviewed hundreds of sellers. We also received thousands of survey feedback. At the same time, we also analyzed the metrics and insights. We learned that, so the previous version of homepage, sellers are not interacting with it as we intended for because important information is missing. The layout is not intuitive. Overall, we identified top 3 pain points. Number 1, it is easy to miss what is important because it's buried under enormous amount of information. Number 2, it is difficult to determine what actions to take since it's a lack of relevance to the sellers. And number 3, it is hard to locate information because of the lack of the structured and predictable layout. Now we identify the problems, we're going to start out the solution journey. And I'm gonna have my designer, Errol, to take you through that step.
Hi, everyone. This is where the magic starts. Picture this, a room filled with engineers, researchers, designers, subject matter experts of all sorts, fueled by your insights that Hujan collected, drawing on whiteboards, on Post-it notes, passionately arguing back and forth about various solutions that we could do for you. Behind me is an impromptu photo of some of the engineers from Homepage. An alert came up, and we gathered together to find out what was the root problem causing this issue, and what pages were connected to it, what sellers and stores were being impacted, and most importantly, what was the right solution for that issue particularly. The opportunities that Hujan mentioned are much larger. The larger the problem, the more possible solutions that we could have. So we gather up more engineers, more designers, more research, and more subject matter experts. And we start to generate idea after idea. All ideas are good ones, even bad ones lead somewhere. And we make sure to keep our future hat on to make sure we're not bound by any technical constraints by today. And as we start to develop all of these ideas, we start seeing patterns start to emerge. Patterns in which similar ideas come together, but with slightly different solutions. Take easy to miss what's important that was mentioned before. We could highlight what's most important for you, but what's most important for a new seller versus a high-end brand owner are very different things. And so do we tweak our algorithms in the right moment and make sure our personalization tools are up to par? Or do we create customization tools at every single point of the journey so you can have the right metrics to kind of dial in on? Or just throw a questionnaire out there once in a while and make sure that the topics that are relevant for you are truly relevant for you. And as all those ideas start to merge, so do a lot of questions. What is the right solution for you, and why is one better than another? And so we start to cluster all of these ideas in different buckets, and we start to create what is essentially different concepts of what Homepage could look like, each poking at a very specific type of opportunity and way of doing something for you, a seller. And we take those ideas from Post-it notes and words on a page and start to develop high-fidelity interactive prototypes that we sit back down with sellers and have conversations about what is important to you, your business, and how you actually process information across all these various types of concepts. Behind me are a few different examples of the home pages that we took out to sellers. As you look at them, you can see that some of them really focus on like metrics that we are highlighting for your business to highlight what truly data points should you be focused on, how are actions emerging to the top of the page, and methods of organization. And as we talk to you, we start to understand the various pieces that work and don't work. And that's okay. Because in the end, we ask ourselves 3 questions. Does this solve the problem? Meaning, what parts of those solutions worked? So we take those out and we start to look at new concepts and iterate and make sure that we're making the right concept for you. Is it feasible? We bring in our technical partners along on the journey, but now we start to put on our hat of, it's not a question of, is it truly feasible, but how do we really make this feasible for a selling partner? Because in the end, it's the experience and the right thing for you is what we're going to be going after. And lastly, is it scalable for the future? We're Homepage. We are one page, but hundreds of other pages are connected back to us. And so when we make an iteration, we have to communicate out to all those various teams and make sure that the product and features that work for us start to work for them as well. And we're not creating a broken experience. And these 3 questions and this iterative process make sure that we are not just throwing features at a wall and hoping they stick, but making sure every iteration that we developed continues to stay that way and continues to get better after better. So in the end, we've come together, sellers, researchers, designers, sellers, and we've all aligned on a concept now. And before you, you see the homepage as is today, broken up into 4 key zones. The KPI section above that shows you the metrics that are most important for your business, the action center that highlights high-severity business alerts and actions that you have to do every day, the recommendation section that shows you optional activities or new programs that are emerging that might be beneficial for your business to investigate. And of course, the communication section that shows what's happening in the community around you in Seller Central. But the process isn't done yet.
At this point in the product development journey, we and my colleague have gotten a prototype that works for you, has been tested in small groups through interviews and focus groups. And we are now faced with the challenge of launching this to all of you. So how do we do it? We do this through A/B tests. A/B tests are the industry-leading way to launch new changes to products and experiences. And to make sure that we take a data-driven decision into whether this new change is working for you, we launch the new homepage change through an A/B test. But what do we measure in this A/B test? What matters to you? The 4 things that we measure in A/B tests are what is most important to you. The first thing right at the start is action completion rate. You've told us that you want to have actions like alerts related to your account, fixing stranded inventory, fixing FBA returns, fixing unshipped orders. You want those to be at the top. So we want to make sure we measure that those actions are still happening, even with this updated layout, even if we push these actions up further up on the page. Second big thing is your engagement with the page. Are you able to come to the page and find the most recent notifications, find the most important actions right at the top? Third is relevance, our ability to put things that are most important to you based on your engagement, based on how you've interacted with Seller Central up top because you've done that before, to personalize things for you. And finally, your feedback. Last but not the least, we want to make sure that your voice about the new page is positive and is headed in the right direction. So what did we hear? How did the new homepage measure up? On all 4 of these metrics, we saw positive results during the A/B tests. A/B tests help us compare the old and the new. So we compared on those 4 metrics and saw improvements in all 4. And we've been measuring month on month, week on week, these same metrics to see whether we are improving, and we see gradual improvements in all those as well. But this is not all we heard. We also heard your voices. The most important part, we read through your how's my driving comments. We read through your feedback to understand what were the challenges you were facing, whether you actually liked the new experience. And we began that journey of iteration once again. So most importantly, the journey does not stop here. As Dharmesh said in the session in the morning, it's always day 1. And that brings an entrepreneurial spirit that drives us to make more changes based on the voices we've heard from the feedback that you've given. And some of the changes that we have already launched this year in the short term is launching a hidden section in the page. So many of you talked about removing certain content that's not relevant to you from the page so you could focus and figure out at a glance what you need to look at and how things have changed. You can now hide recommendations and communication section card to another section on the page called hidden. That's a collapsed section at the bottom of the page. You can bring things back up from there as well. There's a detailed sales graph at the page, on the page. Many of you told us you wanted more details for KPIs that are at the top of the page. And we added a detailed sales graph that lets you see what has happened in the last 7 days. And we want to further it by looking at quarter-on-quarter improvements, year-on-year improvements, and expanding this to other KPIs on the page as well, like buyer-seller messages, open orders, and payments. Finally, we also work towards flexibility of this new layout. A lot of you complained about how the page does not respond to fewer things being present in the actions and recommendations section. You still have to scroll down quite a bit. We're still iterating on more improvements so there's lesser scroll and we can utilize the page width a little more. But we launched those improvements to start with as well. But we're not done yet still.
All right. By now, you may probably have figured out working backwards is a never-ending repeating cycle. And we continue to listen, to define, to invent, to refine, and test and iterate. But most importantly, we cannot achieve any of these without you, our sellers. So if you are already in part of this building journey together with us, please continue to do so. If this is the first time you hear about it, we would love to invite you to join this journey together with us. After all, this is your experience that we are building on behalf of you.
And as we close out this presentation, part of our session, my colleagues and I would like to thank you for going on this journey with us on how Amazon designs for you. You are the most important part of the journey. We start from you, and we hope to continue that you lend your voices to us. From us and everyone across Selling Partner Experiences, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.